Hi, Carlos. You okay?
Yes.
Good. Can we start with your team news, please? Can you give me a bit of a summary of how you're looking and those who are possibly edging closer to a return for you?
No, the situation is, fortunately, everything continuing the same way that we have with the same players. Everyone that was involved in the previous game can be involved in the next game.
What about those who are getting closer? How's Harry Toffolo doing and Josh Koroma as well at the moment? How are they?
Both players are still far to can help the team for different reasons. We know that the injury of Koroma was more long-term injury, but he's progressing very well. But I don't expect him to have, maybe just in the last month of the competition, he could be involved with the team. But we need to be waiting and we need to wait to see how he continue progress or what is his progression in the work. And Harry, we expect him to have a little bit before, but still we are managing the time. We are watching how he react because he's a player in the back. We are watching how he react to the different work that the officials are making with him, but still he couldn't go to the pitch to make running. So nowadays I am focused just with the player that I have, because I know that Toffolo is a little bit is not going to be with us in a short term, and Koroma the same situation, but even a little bit longer.
How about Rolando Aarons as well? How's he?
It's different because I expect to recover him to work with the group during the international break. It will be the best scenario that we can have him working with the group, but will be like in the second week or in the week before of Brentford game. I expect that he could be working with the team. This is the first medical schedule that they sent to me, but still we don't know. We need to be waiting how he reacting to the world, but the first idea of the doctor was that one.
Okay, so that's a bit better news, isn't it? I suppose then that he's possibly on the horizon for you. Can you just give us a bit of an assessment a few days on now from that very impressive and very important win down at Queen's Park Rangers? How do you look at it now a few days on?
I'm watching the win in the same way that I was watching just after the game. Like you say, it was a very important for us. We know how important it is to add points to our numbers, because we need this. We need to add points in the table position, because we know that we are in one position that we need the points. I think every time that you are awareness of this situation, you can play the game with more determination, because you know how important is every point that you can add now to the table. So I analyzed that the team did a lot of effort and suffering in a lot of moments together, trying to get the points that we got. But this is something necessary in the championship to can have a positive result. You need to beat the moments when you are suffering. I think there was a key moment that was the save of Ryan Scofield. But for me, this save make a one game one other different type of game. So with the same ideas, with the same players, with everything, maybe if he doesn't make the save, we could be talking about another result, or no, maybe not. But it was for me an important action that for me was very decisive in the result.
You seem to have a bit of flexibility now about your team. You sometimes go with a 3 at the back. You sometimes can go with a 2. How important is that for you to have that flexibility, to be able to mix it up if you need to mix it up?
For me, it's something necessary, because the more rigid you are, the more rigid you are, for me, the more previsible, the more easy, predictable, the more predictable team you could be for the opponent. So I think you have the option to make some small change in terms of the position to the play now, in terms of the position to attack, in terms of the position to defense. I think you can be adapting to the strengths of the opponent. You can be trying to reduce the impact that the opponents can do during the game. So I think you have the option to adapt, and if you know how to use well, I think always can give you one alternative that for me is necessary to have in the football games.
And Yaya Sanogo gives you another option in that as well, doesn't he? He provides something a bit different for you, a bit more flexibility at the other end of the field.
Yes, I think we signed him because we knew that he was a totally different striker with a very positive background, but at the same time with a different profile of a player who gave us the option to play with one striker with different skills, because we know that he's more reference striker, that he can give us the option to come play along with him. And at the same time, to be one player that in all the cross situation is going to be one player that is going to call a lot of attention on the central backs and can make another players free. And at the same time, he can finish the type of situation. So to have him in the squad, even knowing that he's a player that didn't play many minutes and knowing that we need to manage all the minutes in the trainings, He's a player that he can help us to play some minutes in the game or to play in the first 11 and play the minutes that he can play, like we did versus Cardiff.
And is he adapting as well as you expected when you talk about the minutes that he can play? Is he on schedule for that? Is he ahead of schedule for that? How have you viewed his settling into the Carlos Corberán ways?
No, I think it's not in my way right now. I am adapting more to the options from the medical staff advices in terms of how many days they can play or they can make the trainings in the pitch. So now we're not making many training because we know that he need to make more recovery and some adaptation work before to come training with normal in the group. So I try to follow more the medical advice because they are managing with him very well, because the only thing that I don't want is to lose any player now for any injury in the training. I can accept the injuries in the game because for me this is part of the game, but I would like to avoid any injury of the training that sometimes when you are looking for the performance is difficult to avoid too, but my target is trying to avoid any injury in the training. If the injuries have to be because we are playing the games and we cannot manage ourselves.
How pleased have you been with Pieper and the way that he's adapted and been able to, again, show a bit of flexibility playing in a couple of roles for you? How pleased have you been with the way that he's done that and taken it on?
When we signed Pieper, we knew that was a player that he was playing in Spain last year in Espanyol many times as a left wing back, more as a left back. He was playing as a right back, he was playing as a right winger, and he was playing before he arrived here as a left wing back. With us, he has played as a right back, as a left back, as a left winger, as a right winger, as a right wing back, and as a left wing back. So even in some games, he has played a little bit more in the middle, helping the midfielders or attacking from the middle. So, like I said to you, always for me, depend about the number of possibilities that you have in the squad, to have played with versatility or with the option to can play in a couple of positions or 3 or 4 positions, help you to can arrive to the game when you are playing many games in a row with a high number of first team players or experienced players. Players like him can help you to can be adapted to any type of scenario or any type of need that the team can have during the games.
Can we talk a bit about Fraser Campbell as well? Out of contract in the summer, I just wondered what your take was on him staying at the club and how much you would like to see him stay at the club. I know that decision will be made above you, but how much would you like to see him from a playing perspective stay at the club?
My only focus with Campbell is to try to help him to get the best performance that we can get in every game. Campbell, to be working with him is a pleasure because he's a player that is very open to be working with you. He's one player that he is very open to any type of feedback, and at the same time, a player with a lot of experience that he has made a very good career, and he did this career because he has the skills and the mentality to do. He's a player that when you are talking with him, looks like you are talking with one under 12 player because he is too open, and it doesn't mean that he doesn't have personality. It means that he has a lot of personality to play, but at the same time, he's one player that always be looking how to can have more impact in the game. So for me, it's a player that to be working with him is a pleasure, and to have the option to have him in our squad with the minutes that he's playing, in the number of games that he's playing in a row. Because I think for the players, it's not the same to play once per week than to be playing twice per week, because you accumulate more minutes, but at the same time, these minutes can make that you have more problems, can make that you have more mistakes, can make that you don't solve the situation that you can solve because you have more fatigue. The positive thing for me in Campbell is that he has the habit to play in a row, and every time he's playing more than 1 game per week, he feels even physically better because now his body, for me, his mind is adapted to can manage this number of minutes per week.
Has he surprised you on that front? You have got more minutes out of him than many of his previous managers as well, despite the high intensity training and the high intensity of your performances. He seemingly is able to cope with that. Has that surprised you? Did you expect to get as much out of him?
More than surprised. Before I arrived here, when I was analyzing him in the last year, I remember that he was a hard-working striker, like one player that he was always ready to play. He was always ready to make uncomfortable the game to the defenders. But it's true that he didn't play the same number of minutes, especially in conditions like we have this year in terms of the consecutive games. So for me, it was a positive, more than surprise, was a positive to see that he had the adaptation to the new format of the league, and at the same time, with his age, to don't have any important injury is been something that for me is a high challenge. And for me, this talk about how professional Campbell is, because for me, if you don't have professional habits, you cannot play this number of games in a row.
So if Phil Hodgkinson or Lee Bromby knocked on your door and said, Carlos, should we offer him that new deal? What would you say?
No, only he came to my door to say, Carlo, we need to win Sheffield because it's very important.
Worth a try. Worth a try. How are you assessing this next game then with Sheffield Wednesday? And in terms of the gap that could give you over the relegation zone, how are you viewing that and the importance of that?
I think we arrived to the game with the same mentality that we arrived to the game versus QPR, with the same mentality that we arrived to the game versus Cardiff, or with the same mentality that we arrived to the game of Birmingham or the previous one, because we know we are awareness about our situation, we are awareness about our position in the table. We know that we need to add points. So I face the game as a one game that is very, very important, and at the same time very special, because I know too, when you play one game like with Sheffield, a close city here, always have a special type of feeling. But for me right now, only the situation that we have in the table make that every game is very, very, very important for us. So we are going to face the game with the same mentality, knowing that it's a special game, but at the same time, more than special, is very important game for us. And every time that we play an important games, we need to show these things in the pitch.
You mentioned 12 points there. Is that the point tally then that you would let yourself relax at? If you get another 12 points, you'll relax at that stage.
Sorry, just to clarify, I said points, not 12 points.
No. 12.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. That's good. Yes, good. Right. We'll clear that one up.
At points.
At points. Right. Okay. So at what point then would you allow yourself to believe that the Championship will be where Huddersfield Town is again next season? Because this has the feeling of one of those big games with where Sheffield Wednesday are in the table. If you beat them, you open up a very big gap, a very hard gap to be closed down. At what point would you start looking ahead to next season?
No, more than the gap that we can open or we can reduce. It's like I need to be thinking the points that we are going to need. And we know that at 3 points is very, very important. Now every point is key too. And we are in one position in the table that is very clear that we need to add points in our position in the table. So I am not thinking in the future. I am thinking that we are going to play versus one directly opponent that is playing this battle for us, with us. And we know that these type of games are special just because this, and at the same time that every game allow you to can add 3 points. And this is something that we need to have in our mind. We need to have all the joy to go for the points. We need to go looking forward to the game, because we know that 3 points is a lot for us, because we need to add points in our table, in our position.
And finally, for me, on Sheffield Wednesday as a side themselves, on a very tough run at the moment, 7 defeats in a row. They've changed manager again. I think it's the 4th manager, including caretakers, they've had this season. How difficult does that make your job in terms of knowing what to expect from them?
I think, being honest, every coach have bring something different to this squad. They start with Monk, and they will play more 3-5-2, more in a low block and counter-attack. After, with the next coach, when we were playing versus them, they will play more defensive team. Now with the coach that is working with them in Sheffield, with the interim coach, how you say? Interim. With the interim coach, they were a little bit more in attack, using again the 3-5-2, and now they have changed a little bit. For me, it's clear that the new coach that they have decided to bring to the club is more offensive coach. Is one coach that I was facing him when he was in West Bromwich, so he was working with one of the best team of the Championship at that moment. After this, he was working in the League One, and he was making a very good job. That's why he's right now in Sheffield working. And I think it's clear that he has more determination to attack. I need to analyze the 3 games. I was watching that with Doncaster that he was working before. He was playing 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 every time. Every game during this year, he didn't change any of the 2 shapes. He was playing from the first game until the last game that he was there, or 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, with a clear determination to play from the back, to make a good play now, to have the control of the game, controlling the ball. And now from he arrived to Sheffield, he started to play with 4-2-3-1 versus Rotterdam, in one game that for me they lost in the extra time, in one game that they clear for me deserve the 3 points, because for me they did a very good job. And they suffered one counter-attack of one corner in the extra time. That's why they lost the game versus Rotterdam. After, they were playing versus Reading, and I only can analyze the first 30 minutes because one player of them was sent off after the 30 minutes. And for me, these 30 minutes, they balanced very well the game with Reading. And now they have changed the shape when they play versus Norwich, something that can be normal when you are playing versus Norwich. So I expect them to come back to the normal shape of the coach, that he feel more comfortable with the 4-2-1-3 and trying to dominate the games from the attacking point of view, because for me this is what is the coach, and at the same time I am watching that Sheffield have many quality players to can attack like he wants to attack. So I expect that, I think this change of the coach has relation with the play that he has, because they have quality players that can be Bannan, they have quality players, many quality players in all the positions of the pitch, and for me they are going to be a very, very, very strong team, like they were versus Norwich, because versus Norwich I don't think they deserve the defeat. They had one defeat because the quality of the striker for Norwich was too high and they scored 2 unbelievable goals, but I think how they work and how compete was very complicated to face.
That's great. Thank you, Carlos. All the best tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny. Ricky, just bear with us, mate. We're just going to switch to Jim, because Jim, I believe you've got another appointment afterwards, so we'll just come to you quickly if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. Carlos, I'm just wondering, in terms of morale, how important would it be for the team to put back-to-back victories together?
In terms of morale, if they manage to win back-to-back wins.
Morale?
Yeah.
Confidence. Add always 2 times 3 points is something very, very important, but at the same time, in the championship, is something very difficult. Not many times the teams are able to win 2 times in a row, but to win 2 times in a row will be something fantastic and something very important, just because we are in one position of the table that we know that at 3 points is necessary for us.
Carlos, and lastly for me, Carlos, just in terms of the league position, and you mentioned there about a target in terms of safety. Is it a team that has momentum at this time of the year? Obviously, is the team that will stay up?
I think it's important in every moment of the competition to be adapting about our position, to be adapting about the dynamics that we are having. And I think after we were in a negative dynamic in terms of the winnings that we didn't get, it was very important to be very awareness about the situation that we were fighting for, and it was very important to know that now our main target is to make the Huddersfield continue in the championship the next year. So be aware of this, always help you to face the game with more determination about to try to achieve your target in the way that you can do it.
Carlos, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim. Ricky, thanks for your patience, mate. We'll come to you now.
Yeah, no worries. Hi, Carlos. You okay? Just looking at Sheffield Wednesday, obviously they're on to the 4th manager this season. What have you made of the situation there? Because, you know, teams that have 4 managers in one season, generally, it's not going well, is it? At whatever stage, to change that many times is quite unusual.
Yes, but I think they did this because they were thinking that they have the need to do it, because the position in the table was not the position that maybe they were expecting. I think the first point that they were reducing at the beginning 12 points, but after the decision was to reduce 6 points. I think these things are not easy to manage by the player, because you start to play the games or start the league with one position that is not easy to manage. Then after, I think they changed the Gary Monk after for the, I forget, after Gary Monk was sorry. Then after they changed the coach, was similar style, but sometimes the idea of the coach can work, and sometimes the idea of the coach doesn't work very well. I think some ideas need a little bit of time, but some clubs give you the option to make the ideas work, or maybe they are watching that the ideas are not the right ideas. I don't know what are the reasons that any team can change, but of course, I think after with the next coach, they find a little bit of stability, but in the moment that they didn't get the result, they have made the last change. And I think this is the one opposite style coach, someone that can bring something different to the club, and this is what they are trying to do, because he's trying to play more, trying to dominate more the games. Even if he didn't do versus Norwich, I don't think it's easy to do versus Norwich any team. So I think this coach is different. They are going to try to change the possibility that they have in the table. That's why this game is going to be very difficult, very tough, because if for us the 3 points are very important, for them it's exactly the same. So for both teams, the 3 points are very necessary, and it's going to be a real battle tomorrow in the game.
Do you think it'll be very different to when you played them at the John Smiths earlier this season?
Yes, I think so. I think so because just in terms of the pay that we were paying, they didn't change many players. They only had for me of the pay that they are having right now, Hutchinson. But if I analyze, I was watching this morning the game that we play versus them, and I am watching faces of players that we don't have right now. So only in terms of the play that we are going to play is going to be totally different. And like I say, with the new coach, they have the clear intention to be trying to have more control of the ball and trying to dominate better the games.
Is it quite hard? Obviously, you came into Huddersfield during pre-season. Obviously, Darren Moore has come in during the season where there's a lot of games. Do you kind of sympathise for him having to go straight into matches? Because it must be hard to try and get your ideas across to a group of players when you're constantly playing game after game. You've got not a lot of rest time or training.
Yes, but I think every manager needs to be adapted to the situation. As a manager, when you accept one situation, it's because you think that you can have the impact, and at the same time that you will need some time. But now every coach is clear that we know how tough is the competition, how tough is to can have 1 week to find a week to can work with the players. But this is something that everyone we know before we accept the condition of to take any job.
Obviously, you play them tomorrow night, and then you've got 17 days off. Are you looking forward to that little break before a busy April?
I am just very, very, very focusing tomorrow game. I cannot be thinking in the future. But the fact that made that after the tomorrow game we have another game need to make us play the game with the highest determination that we can play.
But will that period serve you well? You know, having that 2 weeks off, not off, but you'll be training. But then when you come back, it's a really busy schedule, isn't it? I think you've got one midweek free between April and the end of the season.
Yes, I know that still we are going to have 9 games plus the game of tomorrow. So we are going to have 9 games in a short period of time. But it's something that has been normal during all the year. So I don't find any different type of schedule. Only that it's clear that we have the next game versus Bournemouth. This game was moved. Yep. They were playing the cup. So we know that this fact is going to increase the density of the next period. But now it's too far to be thinking the next period. The only thing that I can be thinking is in the training of this afternoon and now in the game that we have to prepare for tomorrow because we didn't have many time. Yep. We have many things to do before to can prepare one game like that one.
Cheers, Carlos.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ricky. Stuart, we'll come to you.
Hi, Carlos. You talked about Sheffield Wednesday changing managers there. Obviously, Huddersfield had a difficult time in January and February. How grateful are you to the club that they showed patience with you at that time?
I think it's clear that we had one dynamic of results that are not easy for any coach because we know that here the work of the coaches is getting results. So to have the option to continue working always is one possibility that is not easy to find in all the clubs. So I appreciate this fact. I appreciate the confidence from the chairman. I appreciate the confidence from the board of the club. I appreciate the confidence from the sport director because it's one project that we have here together. But I know that in football, in the professional level, when you are not getting the result that you want to get, it's not easy that the people in charge have the enough patience with the coaches to continue making your job, to let you continue making your job.
How difficult is it as a coach to build something lasting when you're never quite sure how much patience you will be shown?
I think we need to be focusing game by game. Always we need to be focused with the squad that we have. And that's all. I think one of the positive things of Huddersfield is that we are here, not many people involved. It's like we are a very familiar club. All of us know the possibility that we have. All of us know very clear from close the problem that we are having during the year. And at the same time, we are people that we like to take the responsibility of our decision and of our obligation that we need to do. So we need to go game by game. Always the work with any coach is always the same. So we need always the 3 points, something that the people pay us to get this, to make our best job and not to train in many hours here or to stay many hours in the club. They are paying you to get the best result that you can get. And this is just our focus to try to play every game with the maximum of possibilities to get the 3 points. So we know that it's a challenge. We know that it's not easy, but we need to continue be working with, like I said before, trying to forget the previous result when it's positive, trying to forget and learn from the previous result when it's negative, and trying to go to the next game with in the best condition that you can arrive in terms of the self-demanding, at the same time in terms of the confidence in the team and in ourselves.
And you talked to Johnny about the importance of getting 3 points at QPR. in terms of the league table, but mentally, having played well against Birmingham and Cardiff, but only drawn, how important was it to get that win?
I think the most important thing is to find the real mentality, the competitive mentality that we need to face any game of the championship. So in the moment you feel that you are being more competitive, I think you can have more confidence, and you can repeat in this type of mentality or this type of performances with more possibilities to repeat this. Because I think every player in the field, in the pitch, is feeling if they are having as a team the right mentality or not to face the game. The most important for me in that moment was to find the mentality to face the games.
And do you feel as though you found a better mentality in the last 3 games just because of the confidence of results and clean sheets?
Yes, of course, we know that just to get a clean sheet is something very important. Sometimes in front, I think you have the target to the clean sheet is no honest target. I think you need to have the target to reduce the option or the chances of the opponent, because the more that you reduce the option, the better for you in terms of to can avoid to the opponent can score any goal. So this is the first target, trying to defend well to avoid the option of the opponent. We know that the level of the position that we play always want to create some options. Then the next target that we have is trying to avoid any goal in the option that we are going to concede. And this is one word I need to every player starting with the strike from the striker until the keeper. We need to have that all of our players the same determination, help the team in defense to be better in defense and avoid the chances. And after in attack, trying to have the ball, trying to compete the game, trying to use our strengths and be adapted about the needs that the game are asking for us during even the game. So I think very important the clean sheet as a consequence to avoid all the option of the opponent, because sometimes you can get the clean sheet because the opponent had 4 balls in the post, or they didn't score because they were missing the chances that they very clear chances that they had. That's why I told you the other day that we were able to reduce many chances of QPR, but at the same time I am awareness that they had one important chance in one moment again that could be decisive. So our idea always is try to improve these moments to feel the team or to make the team play with more options to win the game.
And you've got 3 very experienced central defenders fit at the moment, but you're selecting Romani Edmonds-Green. I mean, how good has he been, and how important has he been to the team recently? I
think after the injury that he had at the beginning of the year, when he arrived to the team and he started to play with us, if I don't remember bad, he started to play one game before that we played. He started to play versus Middlesbrough home, the first game that he was playing with the team, because he had an injury before. And from that moment, I remember that after the injury of Stillman and the injury of Schindler in the game versus Sheffield, we start to play regularly with him, and he started to be the couple to play with Sar. In this period of time, for me, give a lot of experience to can give you the knowledge to face the game of this competition. So he was playing with Sar as a couple in many games until he was injured again. And after this injury, the day of Watford, he was out of the team for a short, medium term, because here when you lose 3 or 4 weeks, you are losing 8 games. So he was missing some of these games, of course. So after this, like you say, was very positive to recover him, was very positive to recover Stillman, was very positive for me to have one player like Kio, to have the possibility to close to Sar and Crislow, to have options to can play as a central back, and after depend about the feeling that we have or the possibilities of the game that we expect to decide which player can be better to play. Stillman was playing fantastically versus Birmingham, but I know that the consequence to play one game like that one, 90 minutes in a high demanding game, in high demanding minutes, after being a long time without play, have one impact in the body that we need to manage again.
And you've talked a few times today about only focusing on the next game and how important that is. But for the philosophy of the football club, how important is it also that you think about the longer term when you're promoting young players like Edmonds-Green, like Schofield, and so on?
I think I don't have the target in my mind to promote young players, being honest with you. I know that part of my squad are young players that didn't have the experience to play in Championship before, like Schofield, like Edmonds-Green, like Aaron Rowe, and players that are being important players. For example, in the last first 11, the 3 of these players were there. Brown was a player that didn't have many minutes in Championship. D'Amico, the same. Some of the players that Phillips one striker that has been playing with us some minutes. He didn't have the experience. Pat Jones in some moment he was playing too. But more than to have the target is because they are part of the squad. We have one group of experienced players, and after we have one group of young players. In some of these young players, because even Bakuna have more experience because he arrived here in the year of the Premier League. Bakuna is a young player, still is a young player. O'Brien is one player that we are thinking that has experience, but the first year in the Championship of O'Brien was the last year. And this year is having a lot of importance in different role of the last year, playing more games in a more short period of time, because we need to remember that we lost in the first weeks O'Brien too. So the minute that he's playing is in a even less space of time. To follow one player that arrived to the Championship the last year. Koroma is another young player that didn't have enough experience in the Championship neither. So we know that part of our squad, like Pipa, or like I told you, like O'Brien, are young players. And we know that close to this young player, we have another experienced player, like can be Howe, like can be Campbell, like can be Stillman, like could be Schindler, but unfortunately we don't have him with the squad. And after we have another group of players that they didn't have any type of experience in the Championship. So I'm never going to be watching for the age of the players. I am watching about the process, the development of the players, and the needs that as a team we have, because we have this squad. One mix of experience, one mix of young players with some experience, and one mix of some players that didn't have experience, but they are young and with potential. That's why we decide to be here with us.